The speaker of the symposium, Biophysics of Malaria Parasites, Leann Tilley, joins us now. So Leann, tell us about this. This seems very interesting.
So yes, Jacqueline, biophysics of malaria is a kind of unusual topic. I guess it's a good time to have such a symposium. You may be aware that malaria is a really very serious global problem, responsible for the deaths of 500,000 kids every year. And even more worryingly, the malaria parasite is now becoming resistant to the main drug that we use to treat malaria. So resistance is already rampant in Southeast Asia, and if it spreads to Africa, a global health crisis is feared. So we really need to do something, and I think that biophysicists can really contribute to the efforts to try to solve the malaria problem.
What specifically can biophysics do to solve malaria?
Yeah, so malaria is one of those very large global problems that really requires input from a lot of different disciplines. It's a kind of problem that's bigger than a single discipline. No one field could really expect to find the answers. So we need what is known as a convergence science approach. So convergence is when you have various disciplines, so the physical sciences, the life sciences, computing, engineering, even social sciences where required, come together to try to find a solution, some kind of collective intelligence. Biophysicists are very good at that, of course, because biophysics is by its nature a cross-disciplinary activity. So biologists are used to working with physicists, so they can actually work very closely to try to do things that wouldn't be possible for either group alone.
Leann, tell us about your work.
So our own work, my lab, we think we're pretty good at microscopy, lots of high-end microscopy, electron microscopy, super resolution optical microscopy. So we have images of the malaria parasite in the most exquisite detail. What we're trying to do now is to combine those images, those structural information, with biophysical measurements of biomechanical properties and the dynamics of different structures, and then correlate that information with biochemical information and genomics information to try and build up a very deep data set, a view of the malaria parasite from various different angles. We want to try and use that information, and here's the kind of stretch goal, to build computational models, so mathematical models that have sufficient sophistication to be able to predict how a malaria parasite will behave inside a human, and then be able to interfere with those processes.
What do you hope people take away from this?
Yeah, so what I'm hoping is that we will be able to get to the stage where we can really start to predict, for example, if we measure in the laboratory the way the malaria parasite behaves, its biomechanical properties, we want to try to predict how it would behave inside a blood vessel, how it would behave in the spleen of a human, and then to understand what are the factors which determine whether the host will reject that malaria parasite. We want to measure the response of the parasite to drugs in the laboratory, and then be able to use that information with our mathematical models to predict what would happen when the parasite experiences those drugs in the context of a human. The idea would be that you would then use that information to develop better ways to be able to change the therapeutic regimen in order to be able to overcome resistance.
Thank you very much, Leann.
Pleasure.